Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Barriers Now. My name is Jody Watkins, and I am your host for this amazing show. I am truly grateful for my guest today. She hails from England, and her name is Carol Ann Cooper. She is going to bless us with her backstory and how she got to where she is today. And she's just been an amazing person to chat with, and I'm grateful for this connection. I told her, I said, when I get a chance, I'm going to be traveling back to England. Carol Ann, thank you so much for joining me today. I know you're probably what, seven? I think you're like 6 or 7 hours ahead of me.
Uh,
So I know it's nighttime over there. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's evenings, 20 past 6 over here.
Okay. 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 So 5 hours. Interesting. I always forget
Not
the
too bad.
time.
I
So
know.
Carol Ann is actually, I guess I could call you a writing coach, correct? Does that make,
I call
or more
myself the
than that?
writing facilitator.
A facilitator. That's the word she used.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And I love that. And so Carol Ann and I were kind of chatting before this, and yeah, I told her I've been writing since I was 15. And so I loved seeing what she's doing now. And I just can't wait to hear your backstory and how you got into this. And it seems pretty interesting. So you guys embrace brace yourselves. This might be a really good one, but this is also why I started streaming these live, because I just believe that our stories need to get out a little bit faster. And if I can facilitate that, then we're in good standings. But Carol Ann, thank you so
Mm.
much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Or I've been looking forward to it. It's like, ooh,
Yeah, I know. I know. I feel
it's
like
like,
we
where
scheduled
can
this.
this one go?
How long ago did we schedule this? It's been a couple months. Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know.
longer than that. It's been a long while.
Really?
It's been in
I
my
don't know.
diary like,
Time has been
ooh,
flying for me. But, but we're
yeah.
here. Thank God we're
Hmm.
here.
Yeah.
And, I just, first off, I just want to give you a congratulations, because a lot of us go through life and we just go through the motions and we do what we're told to do, and I was that person too. And you just kind of get in the system and you do everything that you're supposed to do, and then the shift happens, right? And you have to change it up. So, congrats to you for doing that, and for listening, and for just figuring it out, because that's the part where a lot of people get caught up. I've been there, and people just get caught up and they don't keep going. So, I commend you for that. And
Thank you.
definitely I want to just open it up for you to just, give us a little bit of your backstory, anything that you want to share, kind of where you came from, what you endured, and how you got to where you are now.
Wow, thank you. Yeah. And it
I,
is, it's
in
like that.
30
Oh
minutes or
gosh.
less. No, I'm playing. No, I'm playing. I'm playing.
Quick,
It's
yeah.
so funny when I ask, I always open it up like that, and it's like people are like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah. Where do I start? Which bit? Like, where do I go?
Wherever you want, wherever you want.
Well, yeah, and this is what's so beautiful, and I think this is where, for me, what I'm sharing about is actually you never know where life's going to take you.
Yes.
Because I actually started out, I trained as an infant teacher
Mm.
because I said I could never teach the older children. I didn't think I was up to it or was confident
Oh
enough
my
to
goodness.
face them, knowing how
Yeah.
we used to behave uh, as pupils, with sort of student teachers and that, and couldn't do that. And so I trained as an infant teacher, but I, I never ever got a job as an infant teacher. Again, life had its own twists and turns. Ended up getting married. I ended up actually getting a job where they gave me day release to get my degree in maths, because maths was my subject, which I love maths. So, and then while I was in my final year of doing that, I and fell pregnant with my first child.
Mm.
So 8 months pregnant, I was doing my exams.
You sound like me. I was doing that. I was in school when I was pregnant too. So yes.
Yeah. And the lecturers
Yeah.
were going, you're all right, you're not going to have it now. I'm fine, I'm fine. But then
Taking
I had
finals,
to,
wondering if you're gonna have your baby.
yeah. Oh, gosh.
At least I know I wasn't the only
You,
one doing that.
but I always had
Gotta do.
in the background, I wanted to be a teacher,
Mm,
even when I was working before I had the children. And I had day release, as I said, to go and get my degree. I was always imagining and envisaging myself teaching because that's
mm,
where I wanted to be. But anyway, I ended up having the children. I had 2 girls, and I ended up starting a playgroup in my local community. There was a couple of other people that had already sort of set the ball in motion. So I
mm-hmm,
joined them, and we got this playgroup running. Even though there were already 2 other playgroups there was still a need for a 3rd one. And I ended up, because the other 2 ended up leaving. And so I ran that for a few years. And then I got some supply teaching in some secondary schools. And it was like, okay, because it just happened. And then there was a local secondary school that wanted somebody for a term because their teacher had gone off sick.
mm.
So I went for the interview. I got it. And I never looked back. I
Wow.
ended up as a maths teacher in a secondary school. I was in that one for a term. I then got a job at another one, and then ended up staying there for, it was about 5 years. And
Mm-hmm.
then I got a job in the local comprehensive. And I was there for a long time, many years, and ended up as head of department. And I loved it. I
Mm.
loved teaching maths. And I
Yeah.
got over that whole thing of, well, I can't teach this age group
Yeah.
because
Your
it didn't
passion just
matter.
takes
They
over,
still
right?
had boundaries that needed setting,
Yes.
and it was just a slightly different language. You don't
Mm.
say, oh, do you want to go out to play now? And that was something I
No?
realized quite early on. No.
Well, they still might want to play,
Yeah, no. So, yeah, I never ever saw me leaving teaching.
Hmm.
Um, my husband and I, we was, I mean, we had our ups and downs, but again, I never saw that ever ending. We were sort of always planning forwards.
Mm-hmm.
And then I discovered something called educational kinesiology, brain gym, because my younger daughter was
Hmm.
struggling at school,
Mm.
and I didn't know how to help her. All I knew was that she wasn't stupid, but she just wasn't achieving at school.
Mm.
And she turned into this angry, rebellious child who was not the daughter that I knew.
Right.
And I discovered it. And it's, how things people just come into your path. I went to, I'd heard about Brain Gym, but I'd heard of it, and it was more the course, which was a 4-day course. That I thought, well, I
Mm-hmm.
can't afford that.
Mm.
And then this one Christmas, I happened to go to a local, natural health centre,
Mm.
and I was just wanted to get some essential oils. And I happened to see a leaflet about Brain Gym. And I said to the receptionist there, oh, Brain Gym, can you have one-to-one consultations? She said, oh, yeah, and here's David Hubbard right now. And literally,
Oh,
in that
wow.
moment, he walked out to get something for a client. I had a 1-minute conversation with him. He's, about what I've been observing with my daughter. He said, I can help. I went, great, book me an appointment.
Wow.
And from the January to the May, when she sat her GCSEs, she was 15, going on 16
Mm-hmm.
at that time, she let me sit in on all the sessions. And I was in tears. Most times I was choked because it's
Wow.
like my little girl came back to me.
Mm.
She became confident. She became happy. She sat all her exams because she was going, oh, I don't want to sit them. I can't sit them. I'm not going to pass them. But she sat them all, passed them all. And then after that, she went on to do another course, where she was getting merits and distinctions in her work.
Mm.
And a year later said to me, Mum, I wish I could do my GCSEs again because I know I could do better.
Mm.
And I just knew I had to know more about what this was. And again, synchronicity. It was a couple of years after that, the school I literally had 1 year where they did the inset funding differently.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to apply for courses or for funding for a course. And I asked if they would fund me to go on the brain gym course, which they did.
Wow.
I know. It's just that 1 year that they
Wow.
funded it in that way. And
That's
I mean,
awesome,
it just
though.
completely changed my life. It
Yeah.
changed my daughter's, changed mine. And, but I went, did the training. It was 2 weekends. And I would be coming back bounding into school and I was going, what are you on? Because this incredible shift that was happening and realizations of how I could help and support pupils.
Right.
That literally met this enormous mountain of resistance.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't explain it.
Right.
We're talking about 20 odd years ago. This was.
But that's amazing, though. I mean, and my daughter was diagnosed with ADHD back a few years ago, and so I got really involved. And then when my mom, before she passed, she had multiple sclerosis, and so the reason I learned nutrition was for brain health. It wasn't to achieve a physical look. That just kind of comes with it later, but more for brain health. And so when my daughter got diagnosed with ADHD, that's what we were doing too. So I love hearing stories like that because the school system fails our kids when it comes to that. I think I hope they're trying to do a little bit better now. I think they're kind of becoming more aware of it now.
I think so. Yeah.
But I love to hear that because especially that confidence, because the kids just get shut down because they don't belong, right? They're different. They can't sit still. They're getting in trouble.
Yeah. And I realized that, some of the reasons that they do fidget. And so I organized my seating differently. I allowed children to sit with their chairs sideways because I realized that there's something called the primitive reflexes. Now, these are reflexes that help us to be born and to survive the first year of life. And they're supposed to be fully integrated into your body. And then you get the adult, the next set of reflexes that come on. But majority of people still got those primitive reflexes on. And I know I've worked on myself with them as well.
Yes. Yeah, me too.
You have no idea. You just have no idea until you start realizing, oh my goodness.
Well, and that's with her. When I was helping my daughter, I realized that I was doing the same stuff. And so it was like, oh, no wonder I'm, missing appointments and all over the place. And then if you're a business owner, you're in even more trouble because you're in control of your schedule. Uh-oh. I got to get this together.
Absolutely.
Definitely, yes. Learn that stuff the hard way.
So I, would have because I realized that one of those reflexes, it's the, where if they've got things that their back's against, it causes them to wriggle. It's that, I can't remember the name of it now, but it causes them to wriggle. And it's the one that helps them to move down the birthing canal.
Oh, wow.
It creates that wriggle. So
okay, I know what you're talking about.
Them sitting against the chair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So as soon as I turned the chair sideways, so they weren't sitting with something against their back, they weren't fidgeting as much.
Did you have to explain that to them? Because, most kids, and I think even as adults, like I'm looking at the way I'm sitting in the chair right now, like I would never even have thought of that. So, like, how did you explain that to the kids to where they didn't just automatically try to?
I just
did it just happen naturally?
Like this. Yeah.
Okay. And they just,
and I would just do different things. I did some brain gym with them, and the change in their ability to listen, to focus, to calm down and learn was just tremendous. But I couldn't explain it. That was my problem. And being head of department, and the school was in special measures, with Ofsted and all of that stuff. Oh, it was an absolute, I called it a nightmare at the time, because I also had a second in department who went off with clinical depression for a year.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I had two non-mathematicians attempting to cover her classes
Oh my
and
goodness.
cover that. And I mean, I'd taken on the role of head of department, having had no points of responsibility. I literally just jumped straight into it
Oh
when
my
it
God.
happened. That was how I always used to operate. And
Sounds like we probably, yeah, I'm kind
yeah,
of the same way. Just jump in with my feet first and see what
yeah, and
happens.
just see the swim. That had a huge learning. When I look back now, tremendous, tremendous learning.
Yeah.
And but I did end up with all the stress after a while, just because I started training in other complementary fields as well.
Hmm.
And I mean, I thought I was just going to tick brain gym alongside my teaching for a while, but the universe had other ideas. So I ended up doing all the courses, boom, 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 to do with educational kinesiology and training
Oh
as an
wow.
educational kinesiologist, literally one after the other. And then ended up going off ill. And I was off from the September round to the Easter, where the head then said, well, he gave me uh, a package to leave. And I went, okay. Because by that, again, what we were talking about earlier, don't try and figure it all out. Well, before I'd actually gone off ill, became sick, that
Mm.
I'd been trying to think, how can I teach part-time and part-time do my business? And I was
Mm.
attempting to try and organize it within the school and thinking, I don't know, this is going to work because I'm head of department. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, I ended up leaving. And then a few months later, I saw a post in a post-16 college, part-time. I applied for it. I told them I was going to use brain gym. They went fine. I actually used brain gym in my interview, and they gave me the job. It was point
Wow.
0.5 posts. And I remember thinking, oh my God, how did that happen? I'm
I had to
part-time
stop asking
teaching. I
how.
got part-time in my business.
I'm just like, okay, this is where we're at.
Yeah. Because again, you just never know
That's
how life's going to
and
take you.
we talked about that a little bit before, we
Yeah.
started recording, and I said, I'm in this place right now and I'm just pinching myself, and but that's the
Yeah.
thing, I just I have to stop asking how, because these doors are
Mm.
going to open as long as we stay the course,
Yeah.
and the right doors will open, the wrong doors will shut. And sometimes that's the hard part, right? Because we think those are the right doors and then they
Mm.
shut. And so
Yeah.
it can really mess us up because I'm
Mm.
like, no, I was supposed to be here. No, I wasn't. But I don't know that until, however many years later. It's like,
That's
oh no,
right.
I wasn't supposed to be there. So that's the hard part, so that's when we talk
Yeah.
about breaking barriers, like that's our minds. That's the barrier
Mm.
that we have to get through.
Yeah. And it is that being able to recognize that, yes, that door closes, but it was that learning that actually when one door closes, a window might open or another door will open.
Yeah.
And it is trusting that it will, because and it
Yes.
does. But as we were saying earlier as well, sometimes it's a bit of a time lapse. And you just have to sort
Yes.
of trust the process and go, okay, there's things work going on in the background that you've got no idea what's happening. And then all of a sudden, another door opens. You think,
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yes. It's like
Yeah,
the light comes up. Oh, it's like, oh,
yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah. And,
Oh
I mean,
man.
where I am today as the writing facilitator, I could never have foreseen that,
Mm,
because I was a mathematician, or I am a mathematician.
right.
I love maths. I hated writing. I hated
Oh,
words.
this is gonna be good. You guys
Writing
better
for
strap
me
in. Look,
was an
because I know a
absolute
lot of people like that.
nightmare.
Okay. All right. So
It was
before
like
we get
pulling
into
teeth.
this, I want to make sure that we harp on that. So if you're listening and you hate writing, keep listening.
Yes.
Okay, so as the mathematician, as the person who hates writing, but now you're facilitating writing, how on earth did that one happen? I just said don't ask how, right? No, I'm gonna ask you how because
Yeah.
this
What's
one's
the
gonna
journey
be
like?
interesting.
I know. It was interesting when I look back, because when I started training in educational kinesiology, touch for health,
Mhm.
and some other things as well, with my brain gym, I actually asked my dad one day, "Can I practice on you, Dad?" And he went, "Yeah, okay. I don't really
Okay.
need it." And I said, No, just guinea pig." Okay. And what was interesting was he was writing an article for his gardening newsletter. He and a couple of other friends would do a quarterly newsletter for the
Oh, okay.
Gardening Club magazine.
Hmm.
That's right. So I said, okay. So we set the goal, worked through it, and I was working through him with it. And he said, partway through, he said, "Don't mean to be funny," he said, "but I wanted to get this done tonight." I said, "Oh, can you bear with me, Dad? Let's just see what happens." Anyway,
I
when I'd
need your
finished the
support.
process, no, bless him. I mean, I bless my parents because they really had such open minds, because what
That's
I
good.
talked to them over the years about was completely beyond anything they knew, and they
Wow.
were so open,
That's
and they let me
amazing.
work with them and do things over the years. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But this time when I was working with Dad, he by the time we completed the process that I was doing, he was animated. He was like, "Oh, well, actually, I could do this and I could write about that." And he completely changed what he was going to write about.
Oh, wow.
And when
What?
I, yeah, he was, and
Completely
then
changed it?
just changed his ideas. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, picking up bits and pieces." And anyway, the following week when I went to visit, he came down. He said, "I've written it. I've done it." I said, "Oh, so what was different?" He said, "Oh, it's just seemed quicker to write." And we showed it to Mum. And I said, "So anything different?" He said, "Well, yeah. She hasn't given me a whole load of corrections to do. It was just one little bit of punctuation." And then when I saw him a bit later, a week later, because normally he would share his articles with his friends because they would
Mm,
take a look and correct each other.
yeah.
And so then I said to him, "Oh, so you shared it with your friends?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "So what was different?" "Well, I didn't have to rewrite it." He said, "Normally I have to write it several times and I end up rewriting the whole thing. I didn't
Oh,
have to this
wow.
time." I said, "So it's actually worth spending that time doing that process because it was quicker in the end."
So we need to all get this, you guys. Like,
It's
I,
doing the
I
inner
might,
work.
I might get books done real quick. Stay tuned.
But I thought it was, when
That's
I look
awesome.
back, it's interesting that it was writing that he asked me to support him with, all
Yeah.
those years ago. And then
Wow.
along the way, I didn't really know what where I was going. All I knew was that I wanted to help people move through stuckness,
Mm,
because for me it's about movement, moving through those blocks.
yes.
But I couldn't, you're attempting to build a business and you're told, well, you need to niche it, you need to be more specific. And I kept being
Yes.
told, "Oh, you're too woo woo." I couldn't
I
seem to
got
bring
told
it
the
down,
same thing. Yes.
yeah, into something concrete. And along the way, I actually lost my house. My house got repossessed because
Mm.
I didn't have any money coming in.
Oh my goodness.
And
How long ago was that?
that would have been I think it's 14 years ago now.
Okay.
I lost my house.
Wow.
Um, and of course, I think this needs to backtrack, because when at the time, just after my daughter had, I'd done, found brain gym for her.
Mhm.
I think it was about a year later, my husband and I, we parted company. So that
Mm.
fell apart as well. But so
Wow.
I was responsible for the house and the mortgage. I just took that on. But
Mm.
again, I'd left the job, no other job to go to, so I set my business up.
Oh my goodness.
I was, I could have, I could have, I could do that in my head, but somehow I couldn't get the clients. I didn't seem to be able to make that step.
Mm. How
So
did you get
anyway,
through that?
sorry.
How did you get through that? That's a big,
I'm still getting through that. That's one of my hopes.
okay.
Still
I
getting
know,
through.
but there's a reason I asked you that because,
Mhm.
we talked a little bit about this, and the whole premise behind this podcast is to share our
Yeah.
stories of reality, right? Because this is real life stuff. This is stuff that a
Mhm.
lot of people are going through or they have gone through.
Mhm.
And, so there's a reason I asked you that question because, I didn't want to just kind of brush over it. That's a big, huge thing.
Mhm.
And for you to still, and
Yeah.
you're still going, right? You still
I'm
haven't
still
quit.
going.
Like
Yeah.
that's what I want people to hear,
Yeah.
you know?
I've had a few odd clients over the years and ticked over, but somehow I couldn't make the business a business. But I
Mm,
realized that I enjoyed doing what I do.
mhm.
And it's like, well, how can I charge for this? It was all of that, those limiting beliefs.
Yeah,
So there's a lot
I've
of
been
limiting
there.
beliefs, a lot of
Mhm.
deep work that I've just continued to keep doing on myself.
Yes.
And along the journey, there's been a few other people that I just need help with their writing because they asked me to, you know. And also, there was one time when I was over in San Francisco, I was staying with somebody, and I was just on a boat on San Francisco Bay. And I just remember looking up at the mountainside, and there was this wonderful mansion at the top there. And I remember thinking, oh, that's going to be mine one day.
Oh, I
You
love it.
know?
I love
And
it.
then there's this voice goes, oh, yeah. And now you can afford that. It's about 3 or 4 million. That was then. That was about
But that was your
16,
voice.
17 years ago. That was the
That
voice.
was your
How are you going to
voice.
voice that? How are you going to
Yeah,
afford
I've
that?
had those voices too.
Yeah.
That's what I tell
Oh,
people all the time. I'm like, the enemy is our minds. It's
totally.
right here.
Yeah.
We take ourselves out
Mm,
before we can even get there.
that's right. But there was that question in my head. And immediately in came, you're going to write a book. And it's like, what? What? No, me
but
write a book?
but I
You're
hate
joking. How
writing.
can that happen? No, 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 no. You don't get it, Lord. But then I changed my questioning. It was my statement. It was like, okay, so if I am, what's it going to be about? How am I going to do it? And it just set up that inquiry. And I just think that just was always there then in the background.
Hmm.
I ended up also doing an English language A level,
Mm.
which, sorry, it's an advanced level course that we
Okay.
do
Hmm.
here. Normally between the age of 16 to 18, because it's the advanced levels courses that we do to go to go to university.
Okay.
Um, and you take those exams at age 18. And it's something English language A level, me. That was never, ever going to happen. I never understood how I passed my O level, which is the ordinary level we take at 16, you know. But it just sort of happened after doing all this work on myself and learning the tools and techniques that I was then learning. It just went, maybe I could. So I did. I did this 2-year course. Each week, going back, asking the same questions about words that would just didn't mean anything to me, the same words, but I would keep asking. And I was able to ask questions at this point in a
Mm.
way that got me the answers because I was able to understand what I didn't understand and keep questioning. Because I
Mm.
then trained in neurolinguistic programming, NLP, as well. So I
Hmm.
knew about questioning but I did end up getting that A level. It was hard work,
Yeah.
um, and I used all my tools and techniques. And I did. And
Wow.
there are some of those words that I used to go each week and ask about that I now use them. I go, I do know what that means. This is sinking in, you know.
Oh my goodness.
So again,
Isn't that such a good
was
feeling? Because, we take ourselves out, and we kind of talked a little bit about this before we started recording too. And
mm,
I was letting you know about the real estate thing and how I got into real estate. But that was the thing. It's like I've tried things in the past, and yeah, I found out that I developed test anxiety at one point, which I never had that. I mean, I was really great in school, like never had any issues. And then all of a sudden in my adult life, I was developing test anxiety, and I ended up not finishing that program. And so when it came to taking the real estate exam, even though it had been 11 years since all that had happened, I still had that internal, I don't think I'm going to be able to memorize all this
Yeah.
information. I don't know if I, so when I did and I passed it, but I had to use a lot of different tools. Like nobody saw all the effort that had to go into that, right? Like all the
Yeah.
mental, all the,
Mm-hmm.
just breathing through things. And
Yeah.
so, nobody sees that thing, but
Mm-hmm.
we tend to discount ourselves before we even get there, because you were like, well, I don't want to, like I'm not a writer, I'm not this, I'm not that.
Yeah.
But we have all these things right inside of
Mm-hmm.
us. We just sometimes we're not willing to explore them.
Yeah.
But that's where
Yeah.
our blessing can lie, right? Like,
Absolutely. This is what I realized that actually, because we're told to focus on our strengths.
yes.
I realized that actually, if you focus on your weakness and build those, your strengths get even stronger.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. You guys
I
look.
I I was always I'm very visual and very auditory. It was
Okay.
very visual and very kinesthetic. Sorry,
Me too.
it was my
Okay.
auditory sense that was my weakest,
Yes, same here.
and I've done a lot of work on my auditory sense. My visual and kinesthetic have gone,
Yeah.
you know, but my auditory sense has really improved
Wow.
considerably. And so, yeah, it just I found myself writing or I found myself helping other people. And it just, I don't know, I can't even remember how it happened that I started thinking about helping people with their writing.
Hmm.
And that's what I started focusing on. And I then found and discovered things as I was going along in terms of the fact I was working more with the inner child.
Hmm.
So, because I used to think, well, I'm working with adults, but I also want to work with children. So I felt like I was torn. But what I realized is I'm actually working with the inner child of
Yes.
the adult, because it's the inner child who is still struggling to learn to read, or
Yes.
there's all those things that had happened that created those limiting beliefs or that
Yes.
trauma. And it's healing that. And
Yes.
actually writing is a healing journey. And
Yes, it
writing
is.
your story is the biggest healing journey. It's the hardest one to do and face.
Oh, I know that all too well. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've
Oh.
I've now got my signature program that I put together. It's got 8 modules in it. Interesting enough, it started off with 6 modules, and then when I was asking people about it, just sort of to review it and get some feedback, there was one lady I was talking to. Her only issue was that she'd started her book, but she couldn't complete it. And I went,
Mhm.
oh, I've got a module missing about completions. So I put that in. And then just last year, towards the end of last year, I realized there was another module that was missing, and that was to do with nutrition, which is interesting what you were saying about nutrition. Yeah.
I have a ton of stuff on nutrition if you need it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It's kind of one of the things that I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because that,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's huge. It really
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and I love that you mentioned that because it's usually what people are missing, and it's what I was missing in my
Mhm.
life for most of my life. Um,
Yeah.
and it's interesting, and we talk about how things happen in our lives that kind of push us into these things. You couldn't have told me 20 years ago, or well, maybe 25, that yeah, I'm getting older now. That I would be doing what I'm doing. But had it
Mm.
not been for, my mom getting sick and having the brain development issues that she had, and then later on my kid, that brain, that cognitive
Mhm.
development, if it had not been for those situations, I might not have been as passionate. I
Yeah.
don't know. I really don't. But I'm grateful for them now
Mm.
because it ignited my passion so much about nutrition. And that's why I'm really big on, when people come to me about nutrition, it's not the physical look will come, but we're
Mm.
really we're really targeting our brain, we're targeting our hormones, we're
Mm.
targeting our
Mm.
health.
Yeah.
So I love that
Mhm.
you're including that because it's huge. It's
It is.
huge.
It is. Yeah. And so along the way, I've actually written. About probably 4 years ago now, I became a published author. It just happened. There was this community book project that all you had to do was write a 200-word piece. And it was free to put it in. It's just something she'd started doing, this lady. Donna Kozik is her name.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it in. And what was interesting was she corrected it. And I had to say to her, oh, your corrections, no. And I had to have because the way she changed it slightly, it completely changed the meaning of what I'd written.
Oh.
And I then realized how I hadn't spaced it out so she could read it. And my punctuation, I learned a lot from that.
Yes.
How to put the correct punctuation in, but also space it so that it was read as paragraphs when I sent it in, because otherwise it all sort of got lumped together. And then she did another couple of free ones where you could put a piece in. And then she did a bigger one, which you could put 5 pieces in, which I did. And that one you had to pay for. And but yeah, after that first one, it was published, and I'm going, oh, I'm a published author. How did that happen?
That's so awesome.
So I'm now, I think it's about 5 or 6 books of hers I'm in, with about 9 or 10 different pieces.
Wow.
So I do have my own books that I'm in the process of writing, because I've got one bigger book, and then there's an ebook as well. The ebook is the one that I'm saying I want to get done now, because it's changed. The title's changed from when I first put it together, which was about 6 years ago when it sort of got born.
Wow.
It's now changed because I realize it's more specific to do with writers, and I'm honing in on actually helping women write their story. It's not just their book, it's their story. And I feel like I'm being niched into that because I can hold that space now, because of all the work that I've done on myself. Whatever emotional they go into or wherever they go, I can hold that space so they can write from there, and which is much more powerful for their writing. Because if you can write from that emotion and it goes into your words, it goes through and connects heart to heart with the other person, with your reader and potential client. So that's where I've been sort of finding myself going. But I know a few years ago it was like people were saying, but you're a writer, and I'm going, no, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer.
Do you struggle with calling yourself that?
I did. I decided, okay, I need to put that coat on.
Put it on. Just go.
Okay, I'm published. Yes, I'm writing. Okay, I'm not writing. I haven't got these books done, finished, but there's things I haven't done.
Right.
I'm in the process of, and I'm still working on myself. It's still a journey of discovery. And but it is about just keeping going, trusting the process. And I know that the last couple of years I've just been asleep for most of it. I've just felt like I've just zoned out. Found myself doing other bits very slowly, but then about last August I got to a point where it's like, is this really what I'm meant to be doing? Writing? Is this really me? And there was a few times where I was helping my grandchildren with their maths. And I remember going, oh, I've had the most amazing day. I've been working with their maths. And it ignited that love. And I'm thinking, I don't get the same. What is it about writing? Where, what am I doing? So I really started questioning and went into quite a deep sort of funk about it all. But I've spoken to people. I've got some virtual writing workshops where I work with people, and I've got a 6-month program which I've worked with a couple of people a couple of years ago when I first set it up. So I've got people's testimonials, and what they say I really have to listen to, because the shift for them
Yes.
is tremendous. And for me, I realized that actually what I enjoyed as a teacher with maths, this is the same thing. It's that aha moment, that excitement when somebody gets it, their
Yes.
confidence comes and they go, I can do this, you know.
Yes.
And that joy of finding words and writing it in a way that they never thought that they could do. You know?
Yeah.
So I sort of still, there's still a little bit of, I'm working on something, but I feel like I'm getting more to the core of it. But it is about just keeping going.
Yes.
And as I say, it's just this ebook is now called Lead with Your Story.
Mm, I love
And
that.
so it's about, writing your story,
Yeah.
leading with your story. And that's what will get your business moving.
Yes.
And it's then you can create that profitable business that you seek,
Yeah.
because it is about the work that we do has not always had that label of you can be paid for it,
Right.
you know, which I'm sure you can relate to
Yeah.
in many
Yeah.
ways.
I
It's
mean,
not.
I tell people, yeah, because I have a book out, but it's not the book because I wasn't telling the whole story. It took me
Yeah.
a really long time to get there. And I felt accomplished because I wrote the book. But now
Mm,
looking back, I'm like, I gotta either rewrite this thing or I'm gonna have to just do another book. Like and that'll come, but because I'm still on the journey, like you said, like the journey, we have
mm,
to embrace it, right? Because and my last guest, we were talking about this, like our journeys, there's no destination. There's no stop, right? Until we're gone,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But until that time, like there's no stopping.
Mm,
There's
mm,
no destination. Each day can look different, and we have to just learn how to embrace that.
yeah.
But that can be the hard part,
Mm,
right? Learning how to embrace that. But I know for me,
mm,
it took other people around me sharing their story. And when they shared their stories, I was like, wow, it kind of gave me that safe space to where I was like, okay, I can share this part of mine. And as I began to do that, and of course, it took some therapists and some mentors, right? Like
mm,
it's always
yeah.
we have to have those good
Mm,
people in our corner, but
mm,
that's how we heal. That's how we begin that healing process. Because when
mm,
we're just holding it all in, we're just holding it in,
yeah, yeah.
and it can take us
And
down.
actually, physically,
Yes.
it's detrimental to your physical body,
Yes.
because
Yes.
that's where I'm at the moment with
Mhm.
my body and what's going on. And I know it's because I've been holding in all of these words.
Yes.
And I know that once I really let them out,
Yeah.
this, my whole abdomen area can actually change.
Yeah. And
So I
I
can let
mean,
it
that's
go.
something else that I talk about is I had a lot of pain in my body too.
Mm,
And I mean, I still have chronic pain. I have things injuries, past injuries that I've dealt with and things like
mm,
that. The itises that probably aren't going to go away. But as I continued my healing journey, that
mm,
pain started subsiding. I
mm,
didn't feel it as
yeah.
much, you know? And when I do
Mm,
start feeling it more, I realize that those are the days that I'm kind of a little bit more overwhelmed. I got a little bit more stress going
mm,
on. And so now that I'm able to become aware of that, I can
mm,
kind of pull back and say, okay, I'm one person. What can I accomplish right now?
mm,
And what can I save for later? And that's the biggest part, because we have to remember we're only one person.
mm,
And sometimes, and I have some people around me that remind me of this too. Jody, you can't save the world all the time. I have that huge heart, and I just, I want to help everybody and I want to be a part of everything. And
mm.
but we have to be careful.
Yeah.
We have to be careful.
Yeah,
Carol
and it's
Ann,
about
what?
realizing you don't need to carry the weight of the world on your
Oh my
shoulders.
goodness. Yes.
Let it
That.
go,
That.
share. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that up, and this is something else that I kind of talk about a little bit because, I've been
Mm,
a certified personal trainer for years, and so I was helping people inside of the gym, but it was really here that we needed to work on.
Mm,
And so I found myself in certain situations with certain people who were willing to open up. I found myself kind of being that person that they would open up to. But then what
mm,
I had to learn was I started carrying the burdens for them. And so I'm already carrying my own burdens. And then I started carrying other people's burdens. And I'm an empath. So I always I feel
mm,
that from people. So I
mm.
had to learn that it's okay for me to, hug people and be there for them, but I have to release it too. I have
Yes.
to release theirs. I have to release mine. I have to release it
Mm,
all. Because if I don't, then I'm in trouble too. And
Oh,
I've been
yes.
there. I've been there, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
sound like you can
yeah.
relate to that too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's the physical body is the last port of call. It's got nowhere else to go,
Yeah.
you know? And so that this is where you get all the illness and sickness and
Hmm.
the body saying, excuse me, and it's screaming at you.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you're
and that's
not
why
listening.
I just stopped. I stopped doing the
Yeah.
personal training because I was like, this isn't it. This isn't it.
Mm,
I want to help people with the other stuff,
mm,
everything else, because that's what I've had to work on really hard at, like going to the gym's easy. We can all work, we can all exercise for 30 minutes, go walk, go,
mm.
move. All you got to do is
Uh-huh.
move. Even if you just stand up and sit back down, you're moving, right? Like it
Moving.
doesn't have to
Yeah.
be that in depth. But when we're carrying, like you said, when we're carrying those burdens, that's the heavy stuff.
Mm,
That's the
yeah.
stuff. So I mean, I definitely I tell people like involve the movement because we have to keep moving, right? But
Mm,
that's not it. That's only a little tiny little piece of your day.
mm, yeah.
So I focus on now helping people. I always say I help you with the other 95% of life because that's the important part.
Yes,
That's the
totally.
important part.
Yeah. And
Carol
it was
Ann.
actually, I just remembered it was somebody, I was talking to someone earlier this year and attempting to explain to him what I do. And it was amazing because it's like for years people haven't got it. But I realized that I am explaining it in different ways now and people are
Hmm.
getting it. And
Yeah.
I think also I'm drawing people to me that are more open and
Yes.
understand. So I think I'm clearing those limiting beliefs of
Yes.
nobody will ever understand me. I'm talking a load of twaddle, you know.
Yep.
I
That's
don't know what I'm
I've been
talking about.
there.
All
Yes.
of that stuff. It's
Yes.
like I do know what I'm talking about. So people
Yeah.
will know coming to
Yeah.
me that going, oh, and I'm taking it. But this person totally got what I was saying. And he ended up saying, well, actually, what you're doing is personal development through writing.
That's awesome.
Oh, I went,
That's
yeah, that's it. All of a sudden, my
it. Oh
two
my
worlds came
goodness.
together because I was, you know, but I'm not just writing. What about all this other that I've got?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
he
and that's
just
why
said it in
you have to
one.
get to a point too where, and I love that, the personal development through writing, because
Yeah.
you're helping people with different areas of their life. It's just
Mm,
one little thing that you're doing to help them with that. But literally your life experiences, I mean, and I just tell people this all the time. I used to get that kind of imposter syndrome where you have
mm,
to have a certification to be a life coach. We're all life coaches. I mean, if we've been through life, we are a life coach. And I tell people now, I said, my personal training, my nutrition coach, all those certifications, those are paper, those pieces of paper,
mm,
those are titles,
yeah.
but the experiences are
Mm,
what ignites the passion, right? Like your experiences and what you've gone through in your life is
mm,
what keeps you passionate. And at the end of the day, there's no piece of paper that can be more significant than that.
no, absolutely. Yeah.
I hate that we have to wrap this up. We've almost gone an hour.
Oh,
So
wow. Where did I go?
time flies when you're having fun. But
Oh,
yeah, for anybody that's out there, thank you for staying in here. I mean, this hour has been just packed with so much, you guys, so many gems. I hope you were taking notes. I hope that, just know that if you're out there and you're experiencing any of these things, you are not alone. Reach out to someone, reach out to us. I say this on every podcast. Reach out to the people that are on here. If you are looking to get unblocked, reach out to Carol Ann. That's what she does, you know, and I feel like she and I are going to collaborate on some stuff here soon too. So we'll see how that goes. Stay tuned. But I want to make
Yeah.
sure we tell people how to get in contact with you. You want to go ahead and do that?
Um, yeah, the best place is actually LinkedIn. If you
Hmm.
connect with me on LinkedIn and message me, I do
Okay.
have a Facebook group which is called Get Your Book Written.
Yes.
If
I
you
saw
want
that on.
to, look for that. I think I've given you the link
You did.
for
Yes. And I
that.
will be
Yeah.
adding all the links so people can, reach out to you through
Yeah.
that.
So
And then you have Instagram as well, right?
I do
Carol
have an
Ann, right?
Instagram page, which is
You
just
don't. It's
that's
so
quite new.
funny you say that. I went from not really using Instagram to now that's really all I use. So I've found that it works better for me. It's a little bit easier
Mm-hmm.
and I tend to hit the target on people that I want to hit. So it seems like it's been a little bit better for me. So it's funny. I was new at it too. So if I can do it, anybody can.
Yeah, I changed the name as well, so I was able to actually, because it was my because my Facebook profile is carolanne.cooper.96, and so
Hmm.
that was my Instagram
Ah, okay.
title as well. And then someone showed me how to change it,
Hmm.
and actually I could have Carol and writing facilitator, and all I did was put Carol dot
Yes.
and dot writing dot facilitator. Boom!
There you go.
It's like,
Yes.
yes. And it
Yes.
is just you connect with people that share these things and move
Hmm.
on. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So I definitely want to make sure I hope everyone links up with you that's listening to this today.
please do.
And she and I are going to stay connected, obviously. But Carol Ann, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for being open to telling your story. Because I mean, I know from personal experience that can be difficult. But, I want to honor you and just say I appreciate you for being open to doing that. Um, and if anybody's out there listening, what she said is so powerful and it's something that I learned as well. When we start sharing our stories, that's when we find our tribe. That's when we
Mm.
find our people. When I wasn't sharing my story, the wrong people were coming into my life. The more I've begun sharing and healing and just continue to share, the right people are coming into my life. Case in point, Carol Ann Cooper. Do you have any last minute parting words for anyone out there listening?
Yeah, what actually popped into my head is similar with what you just saying actually, because the more I was working on myself, and what I was focusing on for a long time was actually my speaking, because I couldn't get the words out. And of course, I needed to write it down,
Mhm.
and I couldn't, and I was very much in my head, and I had to get it perfect, and I had to remember what the words were. But over the years, as I've worked on that and I've improved my writing, I've just suddenly slotted into that actually I'm comfortable speaking and sharing my story. And I really
Yeah.
appreciate, you know, you just popped into my life with this. It's absolute perfect timing that we're doing it right now, and we hadn't done it
Yes.
earlier,
I
So,
know.
it's just perfect. So again, it's trust the process and realize that what you're working on isn't always what you end up doing. It's part of the journey.
Yes.
So my speaking journey um, has been part of that. And now I'm into the writing. It's like, okay, so speaking was I couldn't do that. I'm now doing that, and I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying it.
Yeah.
The writing can come.
Yes.
And so it is recognizing that it can come.
Yes.
And when I started thinking that, it's like, oh, okay, let's keep going. So as you
Yes.
say, it's up here. It's
Yes.
catching what you're saying to yourself, shifting those words, reframing it,
Yes.
and just keep
Yes.
going. And actually keep putting up that prayer for guidance,
Yes.
and be open to what comes to you. Because
Yes.
sometimes it isn't always what you think you're asking for,
Oh, I know.
but it's exactly what
You
you
are
need.
so right. But that's wisdom right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stay
It's so
open.
true. It's
Yeah.
so, yeah, stay open. That's a great way to end this. Stay
And just
open, you
keep saying
guys.
thank you. Have
And
gratitude
yes,
for whatever
gratitude.
you have.
everything. And that's one of the things that we
Yeah.
spoke about I think before we
Mm,
started, is just
yeah.
sometimes, even when everything around us seems to be crashing, if you woke
Yeah.
up, be thankful.
Yeah.
If you have breath, be thankful, because not everybody does that
Mm,
day. Be thankful. You guys, this has been another amazing episode of Breaking Barriers Now. I just, I'm telling you guys, I really just, is this real? Like everything is and I know it is.
mm,
And but the caliber of people that I'm getting on this show right now, and just how everything is just falling into place, that's because I let go. That's because I let go. So if I can encourage you out there, just let go. Let go. You can't control it all. You can't
mm.
control it all. Just let it go sometimes and see what happens. Carol Ann, you have definitely been a blessing. Thank you so much for joining me today. And again, this has been another episode of Breaking Barriers Now. I'm your host, Jody Watkins. Thank you for tuning in, and God bless you.